Good evening and welcome to Match of the Day for the First Division Midlands derby between Wolves and Aston Villa and a Second Division game between two clubs with recent First Division histories, Crystal Palace and Derby County.
Tonight's headlines are made by the club who've moved from bottom to top of the First Division in 6 weeks and four managers whose battle of words after their games today were almost as fierce as the incidents which caused the trouble.
We start tonight's action with another look at Wolverhampton Wanderers. Nothing seems to be going right for them at the moment, but today was an opportunity to regain some prestige at the expense of last season's champions, Aston Villa. Your commentator, John Motson.
Tony Morley's goals in East Berlin on Wednesday may have quickened the interest of England manager Ron Greenwood, for whom Morley scored playing for an England 11 the week before. Add to that the winner he got against today's opponents Wolves in the League Cup recently, and you can see why the Villa winger is the talk of the Midlands. Yet his own manager Ron Saunders dropped him last month, and the Villa boss now delays the return of Ken Swain in order to keep the side which won in East Germany. Gary Williams has been deputising while Swain has been injured, and it's interesting that Villa have used 16 players this season already, more than over the whole of last season when they won the championship. Wolves have used 20 players so far. They put 6 men on the transfer list this week, and one of them, Willie Carr, is recalled today in a revamped midfield which sees Colin Brazier replacing the injured Ken Hibbett. Andy Gray starts a 4-match suspension, so Mel Eves is at number 9. And he's the top scorer for Wolves this season with just 2 goals in his only league appearance to date. So Aston Villa kick off, playing from right to left, for a fixture which has plenty of history. The two teams drew 1-1 when the Football League actually started back in September 1888, and in the last few matches there have been 3 sendings off and a broken leg. But John Barnwell's problems are the fact that Wolves are the lowest scorers in the First Division, and rumours around Molineux include one concerning the club's former manager Bill McGarry. But back to the action, and here's Willie Carr for Wolves. That's Clark playing up front this afternoon with Eves. This is Mortimer for Villa. Aston Villa on a run of 12 games without defeat. And the two teams meet again here next Tuesday in the second leg of the League Cup. There's Alan Evans well forward. This is Tony Morley. The boos for Morley, by the way, refer back to an unfortunate incident here last season when he was involved in a tackle in which Peter Daniel of Wolves broke a leg. This is Mortimer. It's a good ball into Evans had stayed forward. That's Gary Shaw. That's Evans with the header. Covering defender was Palmer, and then ViaSat. Derek Parkin at left back for Wolves as normal. Looks for Clark. Well controlled. ViaSat. Palmer. Here's Colin Gibson for Aston Villa. On his own at the moment, but prepared to go alone. Certainly developed his game a lot coming forward in recent seasons, although he used to be a winger when Villa first discovered him, Colin Gibson. That was Clark for Wolves. And it's still Clark. And he brings the first true save of the match from Jimmy Rimmer. And Wayne Clark has been pushed forward today into the position where some people, including his elder brother Alan, the manager of Leeds, feel he's best, up front. Here's Cowns. Interesting battle between Cowns and Matthews on this side of the field, but this is Gibson. Brazier, Clark. And Clark worked that well back to Brazier, but it's a question now of Birch to Eaves. Clark making his way across to the left. This is Birch. And on the far side, Willie Carr. And he forces a corner off Des Bremner. Wolves switching play intelligently there. Plenty of width. What they need now is some penetration inside the Aston Villa area. Parkin. Matthews is in there, and it was headed out by Peter With, and Jimmy Rimmer just for once was out of position. As Bremner comes forward now for the league champions. Good tackling by Colin Brazier, but perhaps a little too enthusiastic, the confrontation between him and Peter With. And bearing in mind the acrimony which has existed in this corresponding fixture in previous years, and indeed only a couple of weeks ago when Andy Gray was sent off at Villa Park in the League Cup, the referee is doing well to keep things cool in the first half. 20 minutes gone and no score. Gallagher takes the kick. On by Eaves. Clark trying to turn. And Brazier. And Birch. Well played by Birch. Brilliant. Eaves and Clark awaiting Ormsby. Well, that was a smart piece of play by Alan Birch. He hasn't got the throw, but he did have Villa there tottering a little as he skipped past a couple of defenders and threatened to produce the telling opening. Palmer. And here's With, and Gary Shaw and Tony Morley up in support. Morley was the one who was offside. Dennis Mortimer. Matthews with the tackle. Birch is coming to help him. So is Brazier. And that's Palmer with a good ball down the line to Birch. Oh, lovely turn. Right across as Carr comes in, and Mortimer is there to see it back to Rimmer. But the two most promising moves by Wolves have both stemmed from number 7, Alan Birch, who looks lively and imaginative on this right-hand side. Foul by Gallagher on With. Villa have pushed Ormsby and Evans forward here. It's Cowans with the kick. Oh, an offside against Peter With. That wouldn't have stood. He looks in anger at the linesman, because what happened there was the two central defenders who'd gone up, Evans particularly, dummied and allowed the ball to run through, and Peter With, coming in for what looked like a clear scoring chance, was in fact flagged offside. Here's Birch. Now Palmer. Clark up with Evans. Brazier. That's a good effort. Oh, Colin Brazier, who had a successful summer in the North American Soccer League with the Jacksonville T-Men, is playing his first full league match of the season today, although we saw him come on as a substitute at Ipswich the other week, and that was a superb shot. Cowans. Peter With cutting off the back pass, forcing Palmer to go the other way. Villazan outside of the foot from the South American. Here's Willie Carr to Brazier. And now Mick Matthews. Birch is staying on the right for the minute now. He's coming inside to take the ball from Matthews. And as he did so, Gibson came across his path. That enables Gallagher to go forward for the free kick. Safely collected by Jimmy Rimmer. Half an hour gone. Wolverhampton 0, Aston Villa 0. Colin Gibson with the throw for Aston Villa to Morley, back to Gibson. Here's Cowans, inside for Wyth, looks for Shaw with the back heel, here's Shaw! Oh, well, that's the perfect combination of Peter Wyth and Gary Shaw. How often it's worked for Aston Villa, and you won't get a better example than that. The ball from the throw-in played back to Gordon Cowans. Peter Wyth making himself available. What a lovely back heel that was. And Gary Shaw in the space with the composure and planting it right in the corner. Well set up by Peter Wyth, and it gives Gary Shaw his 5th goal in 7 matches since he returned after injury. Came in the 31st minute, and here's Williams for Villa. And a kick in the teeth for a Wolverhampton side who've had more of the game up to now. That was Ormsby's header, and the referee spotted the foul. Just a couple of minutes left in the first half, and without Andy Gray up front, Wolves have got to channel their efforts, I think, a little bit more on the ground rather than in the air. There's a sense of nervousness about Wolves and indeed their supporters when the ball is at that end. Here comes Mortimer. Nice move this by Villa again, full of confidence. Bremner. Shaw. Oh, and it came off Palmer. Well, you can't be more unlucky than that. Villa moved the ball well out to the right wing. It was crossed in by Des Bremner. Gary Shaw got a flick header on it, and poor Jeff Palmer, it went in off him. And Aston Villa are 2 up, and life can't be more cruel than that to a team struggling near the foot of the table. Well, Aston Villa have hardly had to raise their game. Wolves have had more of the ball, and yet here are Villa 2 goals in front. Well, time now added on for stoppages at the end of what for Wolves has been a desperate first half. Here's Peter Wyth, and Villa could make it worse yet. This is Bremner. Palmer challenged by Morley, and Morley gets one in the face, although the referee's pointing the other way. Carr. This is Morley. Well, it's the Villa fans who are cheering at half-time. Gary Shaw, who scored the first goal and played a part in the second. But life cruel to Wolves in general, and Jeff Palmer in particular. And this barren run at the other end, in which Wolves have failed to score in 7 of their last 8 matches, continues and gives John Barnwell more problems as he goes in at half-time. Wolves had only scored 5 goals in the league before today, and now they need 3 in one match if they're going to beat Aston Villa. 5 in 10 matches, their record up to this afternoon. And the rain coming down quite heavily at the start of the second half here. Here's With. Now Mortimer. Gary Williams, but caught by the outstretched foot of Wayne Clark. Came off Gallagher, that, and Villazan having to cover, and Parkin. Oh, another back heel by Peter With, this time to Mortimer. And With's gone to the far post, wanting it again. He's got it, and he pulled it back for Shaw, and that's gone in. Well, Peter With is really making his old club pay this afternoon. It was Wolves, who he played for a long time ago when he first came over from South Africa, and he was twice involved in that move. He set up Dennis Mortimer, he sprinted to the far side of the penalty area to collect the ball again, played it back again to Gary Shaw, and the shot low through a crowd of players into the corner makes it 3-0 to Aston Villa, and things seem to be going from bad to worse for Wolves, and I don't think anybody would want to be in John Barnwell's shoes just at this moment. Williams. This is Bremner. And a corner to Aston Villa, who are, at the moment anyway, just cantering through this match. Oh, and Bradshaw having to come to meet With again. Bremner's in there, and it's volleyed away by Eves, in fact. And here's Gordon Cowans. Mortimer. Played forward again for Cowans. Morley teasing Palmer. Low into Shaw. Got the cross away, and Gallagher and the goalkeeper, in fact Bradshaw it was, that turned it out as With stole in. And it's all Villa at the moment with Bremner. Shaw wants it into the space, and instead he finds Morley, an even better ball. And there's With, and Shaw comes in again. Villazan doing just enough to put him off. But in this form, and when they're combining so beautifully, With and Shaw are surely the best tandem in the First Division. Certainly they proved that last season, and the understanding seems to be back now that Shaw has recovered from injury, and With too, after a knock in the League Cup, is back at his best. Ormsby. And there goes With. My word, he's so mobile. Carr, Clark. Here comes Carr again. Now can Wolves get something moving here? They've got Birch on the ball, Eaves down the right. And he was blocked there as he came inside, so it's a free kick. I seem to recall Aston Villa winning 4-0 here about 4 seasons ago. And that's their best ever performance in a league match at Molineux, and they've got a chance of equaling that this afternoon now. But for the moment, Wolves are trying to get one back. With Birch. To Palmer. Offside in the middle against Wayne Clark. I don't think that would have mattered, that miss. It wasn't Mel Eaves who had the shot who was offside, it was the man to his left, Wayne Clark, when Palmer played the ball in, and it looked like a bad miss from Eaves, but the linesman's flag, I think, would have ruled out any appeal for a goal. Bremner. That's touched down by With for Shaw, and he's on his way again. It's going to come to Cowans. And Palmer now. Oh, Mortimer, and they've got Morley free again if they need him on the left wing, but Mortimer's going alone. What a tremendous run. Oh, and at the end, he missed the far post. But Villa are revelling now in the amount of space and superiority which they've gained. Wolves are demoralised at this point in the afternoon. There's an hour gone, and Mortimer broke there from midfield and went alone. All the way, the shot just wide. This really is very much Aston Villa's second half. I know they've only scored once so far, as against twice in the first half, but the game has been far more one-sided in their favour since half-time. And that must have pleased the manager, Ron Saunders, because quite often teams are accused of coming back from Europe and not being at their best on the following Saturday. He must feel that they've done awfully well here. Carr for Wolves. That was on by With for Bremner. Now it's Shaw in the centre, coming in on the cross. Villazan cutting it out. And Shaw winning it back from Willie Carr. Look at that, this is Bremner. Shaw setting up With this time, is he? It's been played back for Morley and now Gibson. Villa still with 4 players in the area. Morley. Good football from Villa, and Morley tries one, and it's not so very far over as Bradshaw was caught off his line. Well, I think this match has tended to sum up Aston Villa's season so far. They started slowly, but got better as time went on. And as this rain pours down, at the moment there's only one team in it. Peter With is trying to cut off the pass back. There's Carr. And Brazier. And Parkin. It could be Alan Clark, couldn't it, in that picture? So similar. Here's Wayne, though. And he's guilty of a foul there on Gary Williams, and indeed that incident takes the match over the 90 minutes into time added on for stoppages. Ought to be said that this match has been played in a good spirit. There's been no carryover of any acrimony from previous meetings between the two clubs. Bearing in mind they meet again next Tuesday here in the second leg of the Football League Cup tie, in which Villa already have a 3-2 lead. And they've won here today by 3-0, taken 3 points, and Ron Saunders' team, after a most successful 8 days, have gone 13 games without defeat, while John Barnwell's Wolves have now failed to score in 8 of their last 9 games, and their troubles have been multiplied by this very convincing home defeat. A match in which Wolves had very little say after half-time. Peter With tormented them, and at the end the score reflected exactly what we saw. Wolves 0, Aston Villa 3, with Gary Shaw involved in all 3 goals.
Well, John Motson there giving due credit to young Gary Shaw, but I'm certain Gary would be the first to acknowledge the debt he owes to his striking partner Peter With, whom I once recommended for an England place, and nothing I saw today changed my view that he's still the most effective English centre-forward available. Not the least was his realistic assessment of his own ability.
Yes, I've never looked at myself as an out-and-out goal scorer. I've always looked at myself as helping others as well. I'll get my own fair share of goals, but I'll create quite a few as well. And today, certainly with Gary Shaw and myself, the way that we play together, the understanding seems to be getting better with each game. We haven't played that many games this season, but we feel that it's coming back again. And today was an example of it. Certainly the first goal of reading each other's situations, really. We had a ball on the left, it was knocked into me, and Gary's sort of gone on a blindside run. And I've back-heeled it to him, and he's gone in and stuck it in the box. And I just feel that myself, I like to think that I'm always available for my fellow players, certainly in any position that they can try and hit me. And it's just myself being available, and Gary's always available off me. So it's just we work so well together. He's looking off me, and I'm looking off everyone else, really.
Well, I can endorse that view. Peter never stops searching for space and running unselfishly to find it. He's aggressive, some say a fraction too much. He scores his share of goals, but his main value to a team is that he's a marvellous player from which to feed. Before we look at this ability, let's look at his capacity to strike a ball from midfield. He comes off and makes space beautifully here from the defence. He's already spotted Tony Morley running up the wing there, takes his time and strikes a perfect ball. Just watch how it joins Morley right in his stride. Unfortunately, it was just a gnats offside there, but that doesn't alter the quality of the pass. Peter's also outstanding in the air. He competes for the ball every time, but knows exactly where he's knocking it when he's won it clearly. He made what looked to be a perfect chance, another one for Gary Shaw, Tony Morley picks him out on the far post. That's another of the positions that he regularly takes up. He knows just where he's aiming it, but ViaSat there does a first-class piece of defending in getting into challenge Shaw just at the moment it looked to be such an open goal. Well, perhaps you'd expect that kind of ability from a 6-foot-odd number 9, but With has an awareness of space in the crowded areas in which he has to operate, and a wide variety of unexpected deft touches which create opportunities from nothing. For the first Shaw goal, it was a back heel. Cowans feeds it in, but look how he comes away from the space that's behind him, knowing he's leaving it there, and then leaves the ball for Shaw to move on. Now, the ball doesn't dictate to Shaw. He's able to feint, leave Carr on the floor, and tuck it in just inside the post. A perfectly laid ball and a perfect one to receive. Well, that was Shaw's first goal, but the part With played in the second says it all. On this occasion, he was thrusting for space on the right-hand side of the box. There he is, one little back heel, again left for Mortimer to come through and win it. But look how quickly he regains a position on the other side, assesses it all, balances himself, and cushions that ball perfectly back for Shaw to strike it in the corner of the net. Really marvellous. Some players would take 3 touches and 10 minutes to lay on that kind of ball. So Peter With and co make it another miserable Saturday for Wolves and emphasise that Villa won't relinquish their title so easily. Well, now to our second match, which comes from Selhurst Park, where Crystal Palace play Derby County, whose problems seem to lie as much off the field as they do on it. Your commentator, Alan Parry.
When Derby came to Crystal Palace just 8 years ago, they were league champions, and Brian Clough had taken them into Europe for the first time in the club's history. But the intervening years have seen both clubs fall into decline. Today, Derby are near the foot of the second division, and star players like David Swindlehurst can see no hope of a brighter future. Swindlehurst, Derby's record signing, has said he wants to leave, and Palace, his former club, have made no secret of the fact that they'd like him back. Well, Kevin Hector, Swindlehurst's usual partner in attack, is still injured, so Derby feel an unchanged team, and half of these players are aged 22 or under, as Derby look to build their future on youth. There's also a youthful look about the home side, Crystal Palace, now recovering steadily from the traumas of last season, in which they had 4 different managers and finished bottom of the first division, 13 points behind the nearest club. With Ian Walsh injured, Billy Hughes wears the number 9 shirt, and there's a new face on the substitutes bench. Steve Galliers, signed this week from Wimbledon for £70,000. Well, in common with many grounds these days, plenty of spaces on the terraces here at Selhurst Park. And Dario Grandi, the Crystal Palace manager, certainly knows all about Derby. He spent 9 months there as assistant when Colin Murphy was manager. The referee, Mr. John Martin of Hampshire, and it'll be Crystal Palace, all in white, who'll kick off, attacking from left to right, and looking today for their 6th league win, which is as many as they managed in the whole of last season. Here's Gilbert, receiving the ball from Cannon, and trying to pick out Hughes. Good ball too. Roger Jones and Steve Buckley combining to break up that early Palace attack. Good flick on from Empson, finding Swindlehurst. Sheridan. Swindlehurst again. Good interception by Aston. Now Hilaire for Crystal Palace. Langley. Aston is overlapping down the right. That was Brooks. An easy one for Coop. Now Reed. Coop again. And the linesman flagging furiously, and David Swindlehurst did stray into an offside position. Here's Basson. Hughes with the layoff, and here's Brooks. Hilaire. Brooks again. Both Langley and Hughes forward. He finds Hilaire. A nice layoff too. And not a bad early effort. In fact, Langley very nearly on the end of it. The shot by Murphy producing a fine save by Jones. Murphy with that fine right-footed drive. Jones had to beat it away, and Langley almost got to the rebound. Derby forced to concede the corner. Should be taken by Smiley. Difficult one, that, but headed away well by Emery. And a good effort that by Cannon, and again the goalkeeper alive to the possibilities. Powell forward. This is Empson. And he's certainly got plenty of pace, Paul Empson. Powell, Barry that is. And here's Buckley. And Gilbert just reading things well for Palace. That was Basson. Clayton turning it back for Buckley. A nice flick on to Reed on the end of it. Good challenge coming in from Smiley, although the referee disagrees with me because he's decided that that challenge by Smiley on Reed was in fact worthy of a Derby free kick, and in a very interesting situation this. So a lot of players between goalkeeper Paul Barron and the ball. In fact, Palace have got all 11 men back inside their own penalty area here. So it may be Reed himself to attempt the strike on goal, and the referee is satisfied the wall has retreated. Indirect free kick. Buckley. Well, Barron really had gone the wrong way then, because as Buckley clipped that one in left-footed, it came off the wall. Barron had gone the wrong way, but it did deflect for a corner. You can see again how that left-footed shot from Buckley almost caught out Barron, the deflection taking it for a corner. Swindlehurst. Coop. This is Clayton. But it breaks for Smiley and again for Coop. Now Reed for Derby County. Clayton. Reed again. Ambitious ball picking out Empson. Buckley. Empson, a natural winger, loves to take on players. Reed. Good build-up this by Derby County. Here's Coop. Swindlehurst on the far post. And that's a fine goal, and what an appropriate player to score it. David Swindlehurst, back at the club for whom he made over 250 appearances, gives Derby County the lead after only 8 minutes. What a fine build-up it was. That fine ball picking out Swindlehurst, and the header looped over the head of Barron into the corner of the net that was unguarded. So David Swindlehurst gets the goal, his third of the season, and Derby County take the lead, and I must say they've settled down very quickly too and played some ambitious football in the opening stages of this game. Free kick for Palace. Here's Murphy. Good header too by Hughes. Again, a fine header from centre-forward Hughes on the end of that left wing cross. Good header that by Gilbert. Now Smiley. Palace have got 3 forward here, and Derby a little stretched. Played in for Langley. Jones has committed himself. It comes to Hilaire. Oh, he completely miskicks, but the danger not gone. Hilaire lucky to get a second bite. This is Basson. And a disappointing end to what looked a very promising build-up then for Crystal Palace. Vince Hilaire totally missed kicking with the goal just yards away from him. That cross from the left caused all the danger. Over the heads of those two players. Hilaire had plenty of time, and look what happened. Mick Coop. Powell, Steve Powell, finding Reed. Barry Powell. And again, that was a magnificent ball to Empson. Oh, well, had he kept his head then, Derby surely would have had a second goal. Paul Empson really showing his inexperience then. A magnificent ball inside the fullback to put him in the clear. He had an option on, but in the end he chipped it wide. Sheridan, although it was won by Hughes, Sheridan winning it back at the expense of a corner. Langley taking up that position on the far post, and Hughes coming to the near. Murphy. Still a crowded penalty area. Cannon. A fine clearance that was by Clayton. Cannon again. Murphy with the left wing cross. Cannon got the head onto it, and that was a very good clearance by Clayton. Clayton again winning it. Reed turning it forward. Empson. Looks suspiciously to me like a bit of shirt pulling. Indeed it was. The free kick quickly taken, and in the process Empson of Derby lost his boot. Here's Buckley. Here's Empson, complete with boot. Oh, what a fine ball. Swindlehurst is onside too. Reed arriving quickly to support him. Oh, so unlucky. And David Swindlehurst, the thickness of a post, away from a second goal. That move all began with a wonderful long ball from the back by Steve Buckley. Swindlehurst getting in behind the Palace defence. As Barron came to narrow the angle, Swindlehurst clipped it towards goal. It was accurate, but not quite accurate enough. And that post has made sure that Derby lead only by 1 goal as they go into the second half instead of 2. Hughes. Here's Langley. Hughes again. Tried to tee it up for Murphy, but it just wouldn't come. Away by Emery. Aston. Better start this by Palace. The cross far too easy for Jones. Gilbert's header. Buckley's. And Gilbert again. Reed. And Swindlehurst once more getting in behind those defenders. He's got support from Empson. And what a fine ball to find him too. Oh! And for the second time in the match, Derby County are thwarted by an upright. Well, Swindlehurst again playing a vital part with that good ball. Empson seeing the angle so well. And look how close that was to a goal. It's a good ball though by Brooks. Now Murphy for Palace. Langley forward, so is Smiley and Hughes. Smiley. Brooks. Hughes. Well, Willie Hughes has had few real glimpses of goal so far in this game. That was the best he's had. And as the ball was played through to him by Brooks, although he shook off the defender's challenge, the shot went wide. Swindlehurst again, supreme in the air. Empson. He really is quick, Paul Empson. But Basson's no slouch either. Empson winning though. Swindlehurst. Well, Barron had it covered all the way, but Swindlehurst climbs well. Empson showing good speed and control down the left. A fine cross too. Swindlehurst climbing, heading for the right corner, but Barron behind him. Smiley's had to hold because there was simply no one in support. Now Murphy. He played the 1-2 off the defender and he's still going. Coop in the way in the end. Here's Lovell now for Palace. Hughes in space. Spotted by Sheridan. Hilaire. And again brought down rather clumsily by Reed. He was in fact booked in the first half for a tackle on the same player, Vince Hilaire. And again Hilaire's speed taking them away from the defender who committed himself to the tackle. Jones just urging his defenders in the wall to give him a sight of the ball. It was so difficult, these kind of free kicks for goalkeepers. Brooks is number 7 and Murphy number 4. It's Murphy who clips it, and again the ball did its job. Here's Basson. Hilaire. And a break on here, it's 2 against 2, if Clayton can move quickly enough. The extra man, Reed, onside, and the chip was delicate, but not accurate enough. Well, really, Derby ought to have had a second goal then. Here's Langley for Palace. Laid on for Murphy, and he got it all wrong. And he knows it. The ball laid back beautifully for Murphy, right underneath it though. Here's Empson with absolutely yards of space to attack Palace. And that's a corner. Well, Paul Empson is a natural wingo with pace, good control, and a fine cross too when he gets to the byline. Oh, it came off the defender, and Barron was in exactly the right place. Very enthusiastic tackle by Coop. Hilaire. Here's Basson. Murphy. Lovell with Smiley on his left. Looking for Hilaire. Danger always here with Palace committing so many men forward is that they could be hit in the counter-attack, and Derby have just the players to do that to them. But here's Brooks. Cannon. Oh, and it came to Langley. And he won't need telling that that really was a bad miss. The shot from Cannon wasn't very good. Langley controlled it well, did the difficult well, and then the easier rather less well. Gilbert now for Palace. Langley making the run. The header down for Lovell. Now Vince Hilaire. Really nowhere for him to go then, so he goes back for Basson. And Derby covering well. Here's Murphy. Came off a defender and in for Lovell, and a great save, and in the end, stabbed wide. Well, Neil Smiley then ought to have taken better advantage of that. Murphy clipped it in, it came off the defender, and the shot hit the goalkeeper on the legs, but Smiley stabbed it the rebound wide. Now Coop. And here's Basson. Gilbert takes it on for Palace. Langley chasing. Is he quicker than Sheridan? He is. Sheridan defending well in the end by forcing him so wide. Here's Hilaire. And that's a corner. Just 10 minutes to go then. It seems incredible for a side who created so many openings. It might literally have scored 3 or 4 goals. Derby now hanging on for a win. Looking corner. There's Galliers. Intelligent play that. A back header for Langley. Great save. Langley for the second time finding himself in the clear. Good ball in by Galliers. It was knocked back by Gilbert. Langley had the goal almost at his mercy, but Jones was in the right place. Ooh, it's dropped over Cannon's head. Swindlehurst almost profiting from that mistake. Now let's get away with it. Now Hilaire for Palace. The crowd sensing that perhaps Palace can get back into this game. Basson. Hilaire. Oh, lovely control. To Cannon to chase. And that just gave space for Coop to make the tackle. Hilaire again. Back for Smiley. Brooks. Galliers plays it in and again, but this time Langley is offside, and ironically that's the one time of course he finds the net. Tommy Langley frustrated, but the linesman's red flag was raised instantly. The ball was played through. And you can see again, neat little ball through by Galliers. Langley in an offside position, says the referee. Brooks doing well, and so did Reed. And that, in fact, is the final action. Boos from the home crowd, disappointed to see their side lose. Palace just above halfway at the start of play. Derby in the bottom 6, but it didn't look that way. Derby playing the better football, grew in confidence after David Swindlehurst had given them the goal, hit the post twice, and were unlucky in the end only to leave with that 1-0 victory. But for a side in their position, an important 3 points.
Well, I'm sure the sharp-eyed ones of you will realise that in that game it was Billy Hughes who came off, not Tommy Langley, as the caption suggested. Anyway, the match-winning performance of Dave Swindlehurst this afternoon had a touch of irony about it, coming as it did against his old club. Palace are also one of the interested parties should Derby decide to sell the unsettled striker who recently asked for a transfer. So what's the latest situation?
The position is, I've said to the press people, to the press boys, is that I should recommend that his transfer request is turned down flat.
And obviously the way he played today, you need to keep him as well.
Indeed, I thought David Swindlehurst played very, very well, took his goal well, led the line very well, and he is a very good player, talented player, and we need his ability and skill to keep things going for us up front.
Can you get back into a promotion situation this season, do you feel?
Yes. I remember people just saying not so long ago, 3 weeks ago, that Manchester United were going to get relegated and at the bottom of the first division. They won 3 games on the trot and ended up in the top 4 or 6. They've won again today. I think they can win the championship. I still think Derby County can get promotion.
Well, Colin is quite right about how quickly things can change, whatever the division. For example, look at the bottom of the First Division just 6 weeks ago on September the 12th, when Manchester United were 22nd with just 2 points from 4 games. Now contrast that with tonight's table, which sees United sitting proudly on top, ahead of the Championship favourites Ipswich on goal difference. Even though they played two matches more than all their rivals, United have won 6 and drawn 3 of their last 9 games. Today they won 2-1 at Liverpool, with Ipswich beating Arsenal, also 2-1 at Portman Road. But this morning's leaders, Swansea and Tottenham, both lost and dropped down 2 places. Two defenders, Kevin Moran and Arthur Olberston, gave United victory at Anfield, with Olberston getting the winner 2 minutes from time after Terry McDermott had equalised for Liverpool from a penalty. Afterwards, United manager Ron Atkinson said, "It was probably the best performance since I've been manager. To come to the home of the European champions, beat them and deserve it was more than I could hope for." Ironically, it was Coventry City, the team managed by United's former boss, Dave Sexton, who helped switch things at the top of the table. Mark Hateley scored twice as Coventry beat this morning's leaders Swansea 3-1, and Sexton said tonight, "If Coventry can't be on top, there's no one I'd rather see there than Manchester United." A nice gesture, that, from the man who was kicked out of Old Trafford 6 months ago. As in the case of United, it was a defender, Mick Mills, who scored what turned out to be the winner for Ipswich against Arsenal, while Michael Robinson got the only goal of the game as Brighton stopped Spurs from taking over at the top. The most controversial game in the First Division was at Elland Road, where Leeds beat bottom-of-the-table Sunderland 1-0. It produced an explosive incident in the 70th minute when Leeds' new defender, Kenny Burns, was booked for a foul on 17-year-old Barry Venison. The foul brought Sunderland manager Alan Durban racing onto the pitch to protest, and his gestures indicated that Burns should have been sent off. That in turn was described by Leeds manager Alan Clark as disgraceful. He added, "It is a disgrace when a manager, a coach and players try to have a fellow professional sent off. They lost their composure." The police also got involved as Chief Superintendent Eric Walker said he'd spoken to the Sunderland manager after the incident. He added, "I asked him and his coaching staff to cool things down. We have enough trouble with spectators who misbehave without officials becoming involved." There was an equally explosive confrontation between managers in the Second Division when Leicester's Jock Wallace launched a stinging attack on Queen's Park Rangers' new artificial pitch. Wallace had just seen his side lose 2-0 and said that pitch shouldn't be allowed in league football. It was a lottery out there. Rangers manager Terry Venables hit back by saying he wished Wallace had made his remarks before today's game. But Wallace had the last word, saying to Venables, "I'm looking you full in the face when I say the pitch is a big advantage for your side." He added that Leicester would refuse to play on it again if his side were drawn there in the FA Cup, and that he'd be protesting to the league about the surface. Today's win was the 6th in succession for Rangers on their controversial pitch, and it took them 3 places up the table to 4th, where they're now on 19 points, the same as Oldham. Still on top are Luton and Watford, both on 25 points. Steve White, who scored 4 last Saturday, got another in Luton's 2-0 win at Wrexham, and Luther Blissett was on the mark again as Watford beat Norwich 3-0. Sheffield Wednesday move into 3rd place after beating Oldham 2-1. In Division 3, Chesterfield still lead despite losing 2-0 at home to Brentford, but now only on goal difference from Doncaster and Gillingham. In Division 4, Bradford City's bid to set a new club record of 10 successive wins failed with a 2-0 home defeat by Sheffield United, but they still have a 2-point lead over the side that beat them today. Pools and the dividend forecast is low with 12 score draws on the coupons. Don't bother to claim, but the numbers you want are 7, 10, 13, 16, 17, 23, 33, 39, 48, 50, 53 and 54.
Well, that's it for tonight, except to remind you that if you do put your clocks back an hour before you go to bed, it should give you an extra hour's sleep in the morning. And as you're reading the Sunday papers, spare a thought for manager Colin Addison. Derby County are 3 precious points near a promotion, it's true. But David Swindlehurst, whose general play and goal did most to earn them those points, still wants to leave. Good night.